the show. I really appreciate your time. We got Bryan and David, Tidewater Mortgage and Movement Mortgage. How you doing?
Doing good.
Great.
Hopefully you are.
Good, good. All right, Bryan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Bryan Pumphrey. I'm the regional manager for Tidewater Mortgage Services here in the Carolinas, both North and South Carolina. Been in the business for going on 25 years now. So actually, no, for 2 years because I'm not that old. But yes, 25 long years. I've enjoyed every bit of it. Love being able to see homeowners, new homeowners, get to the closing table with a big smile on their face. I do this just for that. Right now, as a regional manager, I don't originate loans. I've got 5 loan officers that actually work for me here in the Grand Strand that do that for me. So I really enjoy the opportunity to speak with you and look forward to this podcast.
Well, I'm really excited that you are here with us, and I thank you so much for your time. This is wonderful. How about you, David? Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. So I'm with Movement Mortgage. I've been with Movement Mortgage for 7 years, and we got a couple locations here, and one in North Myrtle Beach, one in Myrtle Beach, and we do your typical conventional FHA, VA, USDA. The overwhelming majority of the stuff that we do is going to be there, and like I said, been in the business for 7 years and couldn't see myself doing anything else. So I'm happy to be here, happy to be in the industry, and looking forward to it.
Perfect. Fantastic. Well, today we're going to talk about something very interesting and very confusing.
Yes,
to
it is.
A lot of us, right? So we're going to talk about pre-quals, pre-approvals, pre-final approval, and commitments and what that means. Bryan, would you tell us what a pre-qual is, like in your lending world? What does that mean?
Thank you for asking. So the steps into getting approved starts at the pre-qualification for most people, and that is the conversation. That is your buyer reaching out to somebody like David or I to speak to them about, hey, what can I get approved for? Typically, it's a conversation. Sometimes you may get a credit pull with that. Sometimes you may not. So it's verbal information coming from the buyer, income, assets, what their expected credit score may be, and then somebody like David or I will then do some calculations and give them a pre-qualification showing them what they can expect to be able to get a mortgage loan up to.
Yeah, I think again, like we were talking about before, one thing that is going to come into play, at least at times, is there's going to be some discrepancies between companies. For instance, at Movement Mortgage, we can't really pre-qualify somebody without pulling a credit report, because our pre-qualification letter states that that someone's credit report has been reviewed, and it basically goes on to say that we're getting an approval when running it through either Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac's decision engine. So we pull a credit report. Now, as far as the income and assets for your typical pre-qualification, we're just having a conversation. And asking some, try to ask some very detailed questions. But we do get a credit report, which has a reference number with it, of course, and we run that and their income and assets that we spoke about over the phone through a decision engine that will tell us whether or not, and up to what amount they can get qualified for.
The one before last is the pre-final approval.
So, David, would you like me to take that one?
Yeah, you go for it.
Yeah. So that is a new term to both David and I that we've actually have not heard in the industry. And my expectation of what they're reaching for in the contract, in the real estate contract now, is that your pre-approval, exactly what David spoke about, is getting a decision engine ran, whether it's DU, LP, or if it's GUS through USDA. The next step after that is, again, David's collecting all the documentation, pay stubs, W-2s, bank statements, any other pertinent information that you feel is necessary through your initial interview with the customer, past bankruptcies or any past foreclosures, anything derogatory of that nature. And you're turning all that into your underwriter. Once the underwriter then gets that document, the underwriter does their due diligence, and then they do what is called a loan commitment, a conditional loan commitment. I'm thinking that's where that's going, on the contract. So your final pre-approval would be the pre-approval that David or myself would gather all the documentation. You run it through the decision engine, whether it's DU, LP, or GUS, get the findings. That pre-approval is, I think, is what they're looking for the final pre-approval. And then the next step is the loan commitment from there, from the underwriter. That conditional loan commitment will come back, either asking for a couple of small conditions, and then also appraisal, clear title, any inspections, termite or whatever it may be, if it's a VA. So I'm feeling that's where they're trying to go with the final pre-approval.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think that's exactly what that is. I think it's oftentimes used interchangeably with conditional approval or underwriting commitment. But again, to Bryan's point, it's basically when not only a loan originator but an underwriter has looked at pay stubs, W-2s, tax returns, whatever it is that's specific to that file from an income or asset standpoint, bank statements, in conjunction with the credit report, and run it through one of the decision engines, whether it's GUS or Fannie or Freddie, what have you, and they're getting an approval, and that way at that point it's basically letting everyone know that an underwriter has kind of looked at the nuts and bolts of the file and given it a green light to move forward.
Mm-hmm. So you guys both mentioned that pre-final approval sounds like a commitment, which would be the process of taking everything to underwriting, having underwriting approved, look at everything, investigate, and then getting back to the client or you first and letting you know that they're good to go or not. Is that correct?
Right. That's my understanding. I'm all but positive that that's exactly what that is. The pre-final approval referenced within the contract is the same thing as a conditional approval or underwriting commitment. And there may be some other synonymous terms that are used interchangeably.
Ended at pre-final approval sounds like it is or could be a commitment. And when does that happen? When do we usually expect a commitment?
So normally I'd say within a couple weeks or so of someone having been under contract, depending on the complexity of their overall credit profile, it could take a little bit longer.
So we have pre-qualification, pre-approval, commitment letter, and then clear to close. Yeah. And that's when you are ready as the lender to close on the transaction or the case.
Yeah, that's when the closer within the lender's closing department and the paralegal at the law firm get together and iron out exactly what's owed at closing. Like, move this to that column. This was paid before. This is paid at closing. This is the final figure. So on and so forth. And then at that point, once that's done, then the law firm is then to reach out to the buyer to let them know exactly how much they owe and how to get it to the law firm, whether it's
and then they get the HUD ready.
Yeah.
All that. Yeah, that's kind of that process, balancing the settlement statement.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Bryan. I really appreciate you and your time. David as well. It has been such a pleasure, and hopefully this will help you guys understand the difference between the pre-qual, pre-approval, pre-final approval, if that even exists, commitment, and clear to close. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.
All righty, you too. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye now.
Comment below with any questions you may have and share with your friends and family. Alyssa Lightman here, your host, and you can find me on social media. I want to thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next